So on this chapter, pay a little extra attention to the communication model on slide 6 here. Consider things that might be create noise in your message. As an example, what someone is wearing could be noise in their communication, because if you're distracted by the clothing that someone has on, maybe it's like a hot pink sweater or something like that, it may distract from the message. Also consider how language interacts here. So, the sender has to decide how to encode the message. And so whatever they're thinking they want the message to be, they're encoding it in a specific language. And so the person has to decode the language as well. And so if you have a different understanding of what a word means, or maybe you have one person speaks Mandarin and the other person speaks Cantonese, it may be that they are not able to decode the message. And so that's something that can get in the way of communication. So spend a little time. I've added a video on that slide for you as well. I also want to talk about the AIDA model just a little bit. So in this model, we start with awareness, right? And so typically that's at kind of the very top, where you just begin to become more aware of whatever the new thing is. And then it goes down to interests, and then from the interest, then you may actually kind of make a decision. Okay, but so at the very top of the awareness, consider that as like you didn't even know what the thing was. As an example, I didn't know I have on Warby Parker glasses today, right? I wasn't, for a while, I was paying extra money, right? Going to my normal optometrist. I wasn't aware that there was this thing called Warby Parker, where glasses were like way less expensive. And the process was kind of much more convenient, where you got to have all these glasses sent to you in your home. When I became aware, I was like interested kind of almost right away. And so I went all the way through in the decision-making process of the AIDA model, all right? And so I want to ask you, think of something where you have actually gone all the way through the AIDA model kind of in something, pretty quickly, where, at first you just had, you just became aware of it. As soon as you're aware of it, you were interested. Then you immediately desired it, and you took the action, right? The desire is like whenever I saw these Warby Parker glasses, I was like, okay, these are really cool. And I, got a free set of glasses sent to me to like pick between glasses that I wanted. And then it was cheaper. And so, but for that type of a brand, the awareness section is what matters the most. There are other brands like maybe automotive where, there's much more going on in the bottom of the funnel. Where there's a lot more kind of interest and desire section, where you're really more in a consideration set. So consider how that might change the communication process that you're going to engage with, right? Because if you think that like Warby Parker, just awareness is the primary motivation, and then after that everything will be fine, because as soon as you're aware that the product has so many benefits that it's going to typically do quite well, then you may be more concerned about reaching people rather than frequency, right? So I don't need to reach people 3 and 4 times. I just need to reach them once, and the message is going to be so unusual or interesting that it's going to work. If something's like a car, where it's this hyper-competitive industry, it may be that you have to pay more attention to people when they're in that interest phase and stay in front of them and build frequency against a certain message, so that you can actually succeed in getting them to take action at the bottom of the model. I've also got on slide 34 a video for you on cognition. It talks a little bit about things like confirmation biases. I put that at the end of the cognitive processing of communications section, because there's quite a few tie-ins there, but I think it's an interesting thing for you to understand how the brain engages in cognition, and how that might apply in an advertising context. So I put it at the end there so that you can directly see how some of the biases that we have in the way that we engage in cognition might interact with the cognitive processing theory that it kind of lays out before that in the text.